My name is Cathy Berner, and I haven't done Zoom for a long time. I am the event coordinator here at the shop. My colleagues and I are honored to host this virtual event celebrating the publication of Alexis Hall's novel, Looking for Group, a reissue now published by our partners at Sourcebooks Casablanca. Let's welcome Alexis Hall to the conversation.
Hello.
Hello!
Hey, I very nearly forgot to click on mute. Hi.
You are off mute. Well done. I am
Hey.
so glad that you are able to join us today.
Oh, I'm glad I'm able to be here.
So we have to do our show and tell like we always do. I showed you
Absolutely.
the character cards that are just the cutest things ever. Please note, nails match the book. I
Very
got
nice.
lavender to match Kit's sweatshirt or jumpy, and I got a gold
Hoodie.
accent for the middle section.
Very nice.
And I'm super excited. When I was at Meet Cute Bookstore in San Diego in March, I bought these tabs that match the cover
Oh,
so
cute.
well.
Oh, it's adorbs.
Yes, y'all know
I'm
how
sorry,
much
I
I
just said
love.
adorbs in cold blood.
That is pretty hilarious. And makes me very happy. Okay, so there's all of that. The book plates are on the way. Again, thank you for your patience. We're going to make this work.
International shipping is a thing.
As you and I both know,
Oh,
it
yeah.
is a thing, and we will make it work. So from the jump, there has been great coverage on this book.
Uh-huh.
And like the People magazine article, the book that came out when it was announced, and then the book page article that just came out. I'm so thrilled to see you getting that coverage.
Oh, thank you.
It just makes me so happy.
That's very sweet of you. I keep like half an eye on coverage because
Right.
one gets very, very stressed if one like kind of
Oh my
overfocuses on
gosh,
what's being
I
said
can
about one.
absolutely imagine. But I really
Oh, I'm
I'm
so
thrilled
glad.
to see it. And so the article in book page, there's one line in there. Connection is connection, belonging is love is love.
Oh,
So
yeah,
that's going to go up on here, up on the bulletin board as one of the new Alexis Hall quotes, because that
that's
is
fair.
just absolutely fantastic. Also, just a note, looking for group is abbreviated LFG,
Yes.
but in my head, I think something else. I think let's effing go.
Go, noobs. Yeah.
Yes. So I'm like, I'm like, nope, that's not what this like. Someone will mention it either at the store in
Yeah.
clarification or any of your posts or someone else's responses to the
Yeah.
posts. And I'm like, oh, it's the book.
Yeah.
It's all good. Okay, a couple of little shout outs before I get into the meat of the book. I loved the Carcassonne shout out. I was so excited because, as you know, we do love to play Carcassonne in this
That's
house.
a good game.
Um,
Have you seen there's a co-op like expansion you can get now?
no,
No, it's like yeah, it's like you work together versus ghosts. It's quite cute. It's cool.
really?
I think it's just called Ghosts of Carcassonne, but don't quote me on that.
No, I am doing that because I always feel bad, but I would like a cooperative one.
Yeah.
Like in Catan, I always hate it when the thief comes into play. It makes me sad.
Oh, I feel like probably without the thief there'd be like
It's been explained to me, like
yeah.
the theory behind it has been explained, but I just feel bad.
Yeah, no, I understand.
But I get it.
Yeah, I think this was probably necessarily the game of games, but I do appreciate it. It's got a bit of a feels bad vibe to it. I enjoy Katana a lot, but mostly
Right,
because you
no,
got
it's
she's cute.
yeah. Um, okay, Pizza Express dough balls.
Yes.
Can you expound on those a little bit? Because
Oh, I think it's partly I think it's partly just got a formative memory from my 20s more than anything else. I don't
okay,
think like objectively Pizza Express is not a great restaurant. And also I don't know if you're aware of this, particularly given like things are in the news at the moment. At least in the UK now, was in a Pizza Express is mostly famous for being what Prince Andrew said about Epstein related allegations. But but basically they do dough balls with garlic butter. that are just kind of relative to the Food and Pizza Express, just kind of weirdly nice. And when you're in your 20s and like Pizza Express is like the best place you can afford to eat, there's just something about the dough balls that's just really, and like maybe this is just like there's a very small number of things that I am willing to admit are like direct from life. The one I always cite is the bit in Boyfriend Material where Luke's just cleaned his kitchen and then he's making coffee and sprays grout all over the cabinet. I am willing to express that yes, like being sort of weirdly into Pizza Express dough balls, to be honest, more than they deserve, objectively,
Got it.
is very much from life.
Totally fair.
Yeah.
Um, so one of the things I really loved about um the book and the coverage for the book is that you make the point in the People magazine article that you
Mm-hmm.
don't need to be a gamer to enjoy the book.
I would certainly hope so.
Well, hello. I mean,
Otherwise, I'm in massive trouble.
no, but so you said, well, I do think there's a joy in reading a book that speaks personally and directly to something you care about, be that a hobby, a hometown, or an identity. I think there's also a joy in reading a book that lets you see why something matters to other people.
Yes.
And that's what you did here,
Oh,
because
good.
I I don't know how to play computer games. Like I can play solitaire
Yeah.
and I can play mahjong, but I can't play anything else.
I, I, you can learn. It's not difficult.
I know, but like
But it's not
also
everyone's
like
thing.
it's
It's
not my
absolutely not
thing.
everyone's thing.
I mean, if you have been here before, you know what my things are.
Uh-huh.
Ted Lasso, Bake Off, and One Direction.
Mm-hmm.
But I still loved this book.
Oh, I'm so glad.
I loved the world of the game, even though it's not something I experience. Like, it's not something that I usually engage with. It's
Mm-hmm.
not that kind of thing. It's not a fandom, but you wrote it as such where I could be like, oh, I get it. I see.
Mm-hmm.
There was so many times that I was reading and now listening where I'm like, oh, I see why that's enjoyable. Like the whole thing about the worlds and the art
Oh yeah.
and the experiences. So I've never seen that, but I now understand why um some people in my family and many dear friends like it so
Mm-hmm.
much.
Yeah. No,
It makes
it's
perfect
good fun.
sense. So I think, I talk a lot about books being mirrors and windows, and I think
Mm-hmm.
this one is definitely both. And it
Yeah.
leads to the sliding glass door. So well done you.
Mm-hmm.
Um while we're talking about listening, Sophie said, congratulations on the re-release of Looking for Group and on the full cast audio.
I know it's so good.
It's so good. And Sophie says, I've never heard an audiobook like that before. What was the decision process like going for the full cast instead of a single narrator? Were you
Okay, so
involved in that decision, or did
I
Sourcebooks do it?
absolutely was not. I think the absolute thing I want to say is that like that was someone else's decision, and I think so, like the audio team at Sourcebooks did an amazing job with that, and I do want to give them full credit for it. Although,
Absolutely.
uh, obviously don't remember their names personally, but the audio team at Sourcebooks, you know who
Yes,
you
way
are.
to go,
You all are
Sourcebooks
amazing.
Audio.
Yeah, like so because I think like because obviously a lot of the books from this kind of bundle that's mostly spires and also Radley Looking for Group has been done in audio before, but I just kind of never thought the LFG would work in audio because half of it is really really text.
Right.
um and so when like Sourcebooks, I feel like Sourcebooks audio should be SBA, but it's not, it's just Sourcebooks audio. um like reached out, like, we'd like to do this, we'd like to do it full cast. I was like, yeah, sure, go ahead. I'm assuming you know what you're doing. And they really, really did. Like the only decisions I was mildly involved in was there was a slight question of who you get to do the voice acting for Kit as Solace in the group chat. Because obviously, spoilers, Drew assumes that he's a girl. And we went with and we went with like everyone has a voice actor that matches their real life identity rather than that matches their in-game avatar. Not least because otherwise that would be really weird because like
Yes.
um you'd need people to be doing a kobold voice.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. No, I think it's brilliant. I also love like the sounds and
Oh
when
no,
they're
it's so
like
good.
in the game or like when like the underlying music that you would
Yeah,
hear.
no, but I think it's a really interesting choice because obviously in the book does a lot with text formatting stuff that I don't know the words for. I want to say font, but it's probably not font. It's like
Format?
format, yeah, like formatty, texty. Like you can tell when what you're reading is supposed to be a chat log and things. And
Yes. Yeah, it's but seriously, it is so much fun and um I do really love and admire Will Watts. So
oh no,
hearing,
but what is
you
really
know,
good.
hearing his voice again was so much fun.
Hmm.
And all the other voice actors whose names I will say just because I want to include them all. They are Will Watt, Sam Newton, Morag Sims, Rich Keeble, Matt Godfrey, and Chris Devon. They were all fantastic.
They're all great. Yeah.
I just it brought it so much more to life. It was a really brilliant idea.
No, it's really nice. I'm going to be honest. The thing I sort of appreciated the most, which is possibly not the thing that the voice customers will want to be congratulated on, is the I thought they did a really good job of capturing the highly specific, slightly cheesy style of voicing you get from an online game of that era. Like like when they're doing the game voices, it really I suppose perhaps some of them have done game voiceovers because like obviously that is quite as far as I know quite a major source of income for voice actors. But like it sounds exactly like a an MMORPG, which I've really enjoyed.
Yeah, it was really great. I really loved it. So here's a question from Reika. Do you still play WoW? Which expansion is your favorite? Did you start with vanilla or later? And what is your main?
So I don't really have I've never been a main person. I was a massive alcoholic. I like okay. So to give you an example, to give you an idea of how long it's been since I played WoW. Um, very famously, Blizzard did this. Blizzard is the company that makes World of Warcraft. If you're not up on like gaming terminology, had this whole controversy where people kept saying like re-release WoW Classic. We want to play WoW like it was back in the day, and they delayed for ages in a really snippy, insulting way, and then eventually released WoW Classic. And they've since then they've been like putting out the WoW Classic version of the old expansions, and it has now officially reached the point where WoW Classic has gone past the point that it was at when I played WoW. So like Blizzard has actually lapped me
Wow.
on World of Warcraft. But no, so I kind of got started like tail end of Burning Crusade, beginning of Lich King, and I didn't play for that long really. At least not by thinking about it, given how long the game's been running now. Like the game has had a lot of expansions. And I was very much a Roth person, just because I like which is a really basic answer. Like at the time, Roth was quite controversial because a lot of people were like, "Oh, they're dumbing the game down for the noobs." But I think retrospectively, Roth is held up as like the iconic expansion. Like I've heard people say that like how they basically the game went downhill from there until Legion. Um, and like I think if you are familiar with that era of WoW, there's a lot in LOL, the game that they Oh, sorry. Uh, for a while, in a very early draft, it was going to be called Lands of Legend, the game they played, because like World of Warcraft. But then I realized that that's the same acronym as League of Legends. So it's in Hull, sorry, which is the same
Oh,
acronym
good.
as Human Occupied Landfill, an RPG from the 90s. Um, there's a lot in Heroes of Legend that is a loving nod in the direction of very specifically Lich King era World of Warcraft, like right down to they talk a lot about this guy called Raziel, who was this heroic figure who somehow turned evil while intending to do good things. And the raid tier of content they're doing at the moment is this kind of big final fortress that he's going to be in, but it's not been released yet, and that's very strongly parallels the WoW instance of Ice Crown Citadel, like right down to the fact that like kind of the first boss is a fairly simple guardian fight with three heads, and there's a council fight in there. There's a the one of the big one of the more detailed fights they do in the game is against Villicus the Torturer, and that is very strongly influenced by Professor Putricide from Ice Crown Citadel, who was again a very beloved, now very iconic raid boss. Even stuff like there being the previous patch having been this weird digression where they go and do a bunch of steampunk shit, is that was the arc of for the Lich King was you had like the first bit where it was like Naxxramas, and then yeah, I think it was next. Was it next? I can't remember what the first bit was now. It was a long time ago. And then there was just this random thing where it was Ulduar, which was a bunch of steampunk stuff, and there was a certain like, what the fuck is this shit vibe. Again, in retrospect, it's very beloved. But there was a. I think the history of a lot of video gaming is at the time everyone was like, "What the fuck is this shit?" And in retrospect, is very beloved. The
Yeah.
stuff that's not very beloved in retrospect, we've just all forgotten about.
Yeah, yeah. Um, Here's one from Aaron. Do you have any experience playing or GMing tabletop role-playing games? If so, how has that experience influenced your approach to writing?
That's very
My,
okay. Okay,
yeah,
so you're gonna have to tell me to stop on this one because I could talk about this for literally ever. Because actually, we did. I had a,
I'm gonna give you a couple minutes to go, and then I'll kind of politely barge in.
That's absolutely fine. So basically, yeah, no, I have a ton of experience with tabletop role playing games. So I was having a conversation with a friend recently about how hard it is to have experience with tabletop role playing games because, like, running a tabletop role playing campaign can take 10 years. So you could be doing it for 20 years and run two campaigns. But no, it used to be my primary hobby. It's still one of my big hobbies. I feel like I've learned a lot from running tabletop role playing games. The way I like to express it is that I think what running a tabletop role playing game really taught me was to build a world that is robust to improvisation.
Mm,
Because if you're running a tabletop role playing game, you are going to have to make stuff up as you go along because the
hmm.
players absolutely will do things you don't expect, and you will have to turn around and say, "Shit, I now need to know what's on this different continent," or what happens if you accidentally go back in time. That might be a me problem. I've run a lot of games where people accidentally go back in time. Um, I think I just always throw it out there as a possibility, and people never turn it down. Um, and I think that does really help if you are doing. I don't want to go too. I'm not a huge fan of the plotter pantser dichotomy, but if you lean closer to the pantser end of the spectrum, um, approaching your world building in a way where you can, have an idea halfway through the first draft, or in some cases, halfway through the second book in a series, and it will still broadly fit in, where you don't have to have everything meticulously planned out in detail from the beginning, can be really helpful.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah,
because it means you don't wind up having to do tons of rewriting or being like, well, that doesn't fit anymore because stuff was so much in the first book.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. That's a great answer.
thank you very much.
Um, and P.S. You only went 2 minutes. Good job.
Oh, well, that's all right.
What? So Aaron also asks, what tabletop RPGs do you enjoy playing?
Oh, good lord. So I've played a fair amount. I play a very eclectic range of games. I've played a certain amount of D&D. It's not my favorite game, but it's often the one that's easiest to get people together for. Recently I've like gone on a massive Ars Magica kick. Ars Magica it was first published in 1988. It had its most recent edition footnote came out in 2005, and they've just put out what they're calling the definitive edition, which is basically that edition but with a bunch of extra examples and everything consolidated. Um, and what's remarkable about Ars Magica is that it's two different games which don't entirely need each other, but both of which are independently industry leaders. Because the premise of Ars Magica is you play wizards in medieval Europe, and it's got one of the best systems for playing wizards, and also one of the best sets of source books for doing games set in medieval Europe.
Hmm.
Just because they've got a lot of like really unnecessarily detailed stuff about specifically Europe in AD 1220,
Oh,
specifically focused on making it playable in a role-playing game. Because obviously you can do like historical stuff where you do your own research, but that doesn't have a gameability focus. And often the people that write the supplements really love the source material. So it's let's be very clear. Please do not learn history from a tabletop role-playing game.
right.
Um, but so Ars Magic was very kind of beloved in the community for those reasons. Like it's
That's excellent. I am going to have to take a look at that one because, as many of you know, this is a D&D house, and not me, but my partner loves it, and you can't see it, but this entire space
oh, that makes
is
sense.
full of things that
Yeah,
will be going to someone else's house tonight because it's D&D night.
that's entirely
Um,
very
it's
yeah,
so much fun,
yeah.
and it brings him so much joy. So I'm all on
Oh,
board.
absolutely. No, no, it's great, great hobby.
Here Bex wants to know:
Hmm.
do the Duck Children game, and if so, do they have a favorite?
Most of them do, yes. Not all of them, but most of them. So Ducky tends to help me with strategy stuff because Ducky is best at strategy. Brooklyn is really into Skyrim. And Peggy is too little for gaming because she cannot control like a mouse or a keyboard or a controller because she's like she's smaller than a mouse. Um, Intern Penny, who has recently started calling herself Office Manager Penny, and we do need to have a conversation about that, is very keen on being productive, which means she basically likes either games that simulate a job, which is to say things like Stardew Valley, where you are making a farm, or games that just kind of feel like a job, games that are very grindy. She's happy with either of those. Carrie's still in a like isn't into stuff her parents are in phase, so she doesn't really game much. And I think I haven't tried to get Delia into gaming. I think she's like Delia sometimes gets a bit stressed, and like, I think she's just like so I'm trying to give her a space.
It's good. Let Delia develop.
Exactly,
Her.
exactly.
Okay, I had to write all those down. I mean, I can listen to it again, but that's extremely entertaining. Thank you. Um, Dobbs says the screen names in LFG are so good. How did you come up with them? And are they inspired by any real screen names you've come across while gaming?
So they're pretty much not directly inspired by anyone's real screen names, with the tiny exception of Burns Your Face, and even then only in that like I think everyone's been in that disaster group with that one wanker, and they've always got a name that's like
Heels!
yeah,
Heels!
exactly, yeah. They've always got a name that's something like that, or it's like Lolai Pundu Noob or something, be all in lowercase. Um, but other than that, it's the same with any naming thing. It's about what's reflective of the character, what's reflective of their personality and the way they engage with the game. Um, the the tiny nod I always like to mention is that so Curious's name comes highly specifically from the villain of Shadows of Undrentide, the first expansion to obscure and ultimately ill-regarded BioWare game Neverwinter Nights. Neverwinter Nights was really famous back in the day for being. It was like the first one they did that was 3D. And its big USP was that it had a tool set you could use to make your own like kind of custom modules. And the Neverwinter Nights one community was huge. Um, but the actual campaign that shipped with the game was kind of dog shit. But then the first expansion was called Shadows of Undrentide, and that campaign was by the six people who were still doing Neverwinter Nights single player content. It was very well regarded. It was also partly written by Naomi Novik, who was working for Bioware at the time. There's like if you look in the tool set, like all of
Mhm.
the tool set for Neverwinter Nights has like kind of yeah, it has like sample scripts you can use to like impl- implement game functions like quickly, and they've all got like the name of the person that coded those things. So there's bits of Neverwinter Nights script that are credited to Naomi Novik, which is really weird.
That's
um
actually pretty cool.
Actually kind of pretty cool. um
I love that.
so yes, and Bjorn is the kind of person who, first of all, if he was playing a Medusa, he would want them to be named after a specific Medusa from a video game, and there aren't that many famous Medusas from video games. He'd also really want it to be a reference to a game that you probably haven't played. Um,
Yes, he would.
yeah, and it's all little things like that. So Ialda's got a name that's just very lore friendly. Solace, one of the little tiny things about Solace's name is that, like, by and large, if you're playing a healer called Solace, you've probably been playing for a long time because it's a very obvious name to give a healer, which means that you probably got that name early before someone else did it. And again, Solace has
Ah,
been playing like since he was 15. He's now like what, I think 19. So
okay.
which is pretty much since launch or since late first expansion. I can't remember when. Obviously, there's the whole thing with Dave, and Dave is a semi-recurring character in the Hall of Earth.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's great, and I love knowing the stories behind those, and they make so much sense to
Mhm.
me. Um, okay, this has a bit of a long intro, but we get to some interesting stuff here.
Mhm.
Heather says, in the annotations, you mention how gaming interactions can involve different layers of communication across different channels simultaneously. How do the avatars the characters choose to play in Heroes of Legend relate to their own identities and the interactions in the game?
In a variety of complex ways.
Like, what does Solace and Orcarella tell us about Kit and Drew?
Yeah.
In
So it's like the actual. So one of the things one of the things I'm going to say, obviously, my experience of this is from a while ago. And I don't know if it's different for people for like a slightly younger generation who grew up a lot more in an online environment,
mm-hmm,
but there is a very large extent to which inhabiting a digital space is like is a really open-ended word, but it is very like being in a physical space.
mm-hmm.
And so yeah, like very often, at least if you, especially if the kind of person that interacts with the game the way that Kit in particular interacts with it, but the way most people interact with it, generally your avatar will be the means to which you interact with the world. Not very often, if you are going to talk to someone, you will go and stand near them.
Mm-hmm.
If you are like kind of it's I think so. Like if you are using the slash hug command, it is has a very simple real life, and again, that's going to vary a lot from like person to person. There will be some people who are very comfortable doing. I'm just getting a note saying my internet connection is unstable. By the way, just be aware. Um,
Okay.
sorry, it just popped up on my screen.
Yeah,
Um,
no worries. Oh,
and obviously, people have different levels of comfort with that, but it's often a very because you're not just interacting through a pure text medium. It does feel more naturalistic in some ways,
okay.
even if it's these particularly back 15 years ago quite low poly models. Um, and so you do have, and obviously it gets more complicated when you're doing the broader set against that. You've also got the whole thing where you've often got a chat window in the corner that's a lot more just like a regular chat box, like you'd have these days if you were doing an online conversation on like your Discord or whatever, because often that's with people that are just anywhere in the world who you're
Yeah.
not physically interacting in a physical space with. So it's very fluid in that regard. In terms of like how real life identity intersects with your avatar, that's again, it's very nuanced and complicated.
Yeah.
Um, like, and you will get people for whom their avatar is uh an excuse to kind of embody or explore aspect of themselves that they are interested in exploring. You will get people who just a lot of people do just want an avatar that's kind of a bit like them. But you also get people who want an avatar that just looks cool or is weird. I think the reason
Okay. Okay.
I think a big part of the reason that Drew is playing like a girl orc with pigtails, he just really like the idea of being this like girl orc with pigtails who has a big axe. I think the reason that Herodis is playing or that Bjorn is playing a female character is because there is no. I suspect he probably wanted to play a Medusa for balance reasons, and there is no way in hell that Bjorn would play a male Medusa because like Bjorn is going to come from an RPG thing where male Medusas aren't a thing.
Right. Right.
Probably has long rants about how you shouldn't be able to have male Medusas.
Yes.
Uh,
I think that needs to be like an extra added to the audiobook.
That
Is Bjorn like that actually would be fantastic. A
would be
Bjorn
quite funny,
rant.
actually.
That would be
Um,
great. Okay, so by talking about Drew, you answered the question, the second part of Heather's question, which was why does Drew assume that Solace is played by a girl?
yeah,
He himself plays Ella, who's feminine.
and I think I think if just to because that is actually a really an interesting question. I think it's because so Drew has his very specific reasons for playing a female avatar, as does Bjorn, as does the person's avatar is Cinderella, whose real life name I've suddenly forgotten. Like that, like very notably, there are a reasonable number of people who have cross-gender avatars in the guild, and there are, but most people don't. Like in so the general like there have been studies on this, and like most people play game avatars that match their own gender.
Mm-hmm.
Um, often when it's stuff like often I my perception is, and maybe this is I don't want to speak to other people's experiences. Your with any kind of online interaction, your experience of yourself interacting online is very different from your experience of other people interacting online. Like if you're just like if you imagine you're talking to someone in a chat room
Okay.
or like a chat room, sorry, fucking like it's not 2002 anymore, or
I knew I went there with you, so
yeah,
I'm here.
on a Discord server, on a forum, and their like avatar picture is like a cute panda. Like rationally, they're not a cute panda in real life, but on some level, you think of them as being a cute panda. Um, so I think you do naturally have less awareness of the realities of a person independent of however they're presenting with someone
Mm-hmm.
who's not you than you have with you. I think there's also the fact that just a lot about the way Solace interacts with the game that codes is quite feminine to Drew, and that's not necessarily accurate. Like
No.
there are a variety of men and a variety of women in the guild who Drew interacts with, who all interact with the game in different ways. But also, Drew comes from a hardcore raiding background, and there are women who do hardcore raiding. But I think what I would say is, my understanding of hardcore raiding guilds, particularly back in like the early 2010s, is they tended to be comprised of the kind of people who did not necessarily create environments that were welcoming to women.
Yep.
I think is so there's just a lot of little things that add up to l- allow Drew to allow himself to assume Solace is a girl, partly obviously because he's not, there are questions about Drew's sexuality that at the start of the book he's not confronted, um, which
Right.
he later does.
Yeah. Excellent. Thank you very much. Here are a couple ones that we can do sort of quickly. From Sorry, what game in any format would you recommend for a friend group date? It can be either with or without zombies.
Oh, it just depends so much on the friend group. There's genuinely there is no good universal answer because like there are going to be friend groups for whom the ideal friend group date is we block out this weekend and we play Twilight Imperium.
Okay.
And there are going to be friend groups for whom the ideal friend group date is we hang out. I'm going to have some really low key board games that we can play or not, if you see what I mean.
Yep, I do.
If you're in the first group, Twilight Imperium is a good call. If you're in the second group, then so for example, Carcassonne's a good example. Like that is a yeah, and that is a kind of game that even people who don't necessarily consider themselves gamers can get into. Um, if you want a thing where everyone plays the same game, then that's going to be really heavily constrained by how many people there are, because there are games that you cannot take more than four, cannot take more than
Right.
six.
Right.
It's going to depend on some people. I personally prefer co-op games, particularly for groups. I also have a personally hate co-op games with traitor mechanics because okay, let me rephrase. Right, no, let me not rephrase. I don't like co-op games with traitor mechanics. I don't mind. Are you familiar with the concept of a social deduction game? Okay, have you seen the traitors?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, that's a social deduction game.
Oh, okay.
And like that, the whole game is the traitor mechanic. That's fine. I'm fine with that.
Okay.
Whereas sometimes you'll get things like so in LFG, looking for group,
Yes.
not let's effing go. They play Dead of Winter, which is a
Yes,
co-op game with a hidden role mechanic where everyone's got their own hidden agenda. And so it's cooperative, but it's possible for you to lose even if the group wins, broadly.
got
And
it.
it's also got an optional traitor mechanic where you want the group to lose.
Oh Lord.
And you have to be in the right mood. I think part of what I find difficult about that kind of mechanic in practice, and to be fair, I think it's better implemented in Dead of Winter than it is in a lot of other games, is that sometimes when you're playing a co-op game where one person wants the group to lose, it's like, well, the game's hard anyway. And often the optimal way to play as the person that wants the group to lose is just to play badly, or worse, to play like a dickhead. And
Yeah.
that can actually create bad play patterns. But
Yes.
it's definitely going to be like a your group thing.
Yeah. Okay. Wow, that's a lot of options.
There's a lot.
Um,
Yeah.
so many people asked, what games do you think Kit and Drew are currently playing, either together or separately?
So usual caveats, death of the author. I don't like to. I think particularly with my younger characters, I don't like to nail my colors too much. So yes, they're definitely going to be together forever because like I don't necessarily think that it's that common for people to be long term with the person that they first get with in their second year of university. Not saying it never happens, not saying that's not a fantasy you can enjoy if you like that, but I don't want to say that's definitely how the relationship will be. And I also don't want to imply that if you get with someone at university and they're really important to you and then you move on, that that's invalid. But in the timeline where they are still together in 2025, then together, I think they're probably doing RPG stuff with a tactical vibe. They've almost certainly played Baldur's Gate 3. They almost certainly ELD made them play Baldur's Gate 1 and 2 first, which I think they did do. And I think it took them a while to get into it. I think probably it took them a while to get into it, but then Drew realized that actually there's a whole like level of gameplay in second edition D&D that's its own whole thing, and once you appreciate for what it is, it's actually a really interesting challenge. Um,
Fair. All of
I
that fair.
I think Drew is definitely gonna be really into Elden Ring. Um, like I don't like obviously like Drew sometimes has slightly opinions I don't necessarily share about games being too easy and stuff. Some people do think Elden Ring is too easy, but I think Drew is definitely the kind of person who is in Souls games in particular. If he thinks it's too difficult, he'll do a Souls level run, a Souls level 1 run. Say that 10 times fast. Um, I think Kit is probably currently. So first of all, I think if anyone in the thing is going to stick long term with the WoW analog, it'll be Kit. Kit's almost certainly
Yep.
still playing LOL, and managing the rage from people who are insisting that the game's been ruined as they do every expansion. Um, Outside of that, I think he'd probably really like if he could find the time to play it, he'd probably really like Claire Obscure Expedition 33, which is like this is a slightly weird way to express it, but it's basically a French JRPG. Are you familiar with JRPG as a genre term?
I mean,
So
you
okay,
know
so
me, I can play Carcassonne,
yeah.
but
RPG role playing game, JRPG Japanese role playing game.
oh, okay.
And so when I say it's a French JRPG, it's a French game made in France by French people, as far as I can tell. But it's got a style and an aesthetic and a set of like so Japanese role playing games like so Final Fantasy is the archetypal Japanese role playing game.
Oh, okay.
Um,
I know that.
and that style of game, um, with kind of very quite weird fantasy that often merges like high tech with magic,
Hmm.
and like it's okay. Back in the day, it used to be very defined by turn-based combat. That the genre has moved away from turn-based combat now because no one plays turn-based combat outside of really indie stuff.
Okay.
Um, but there's a whole set of like quite complicated tropes and things that go into making the JRPG genre that you can do without the game necessarily being set in Japan. The same way you can make something in the same way you can do an animation that's in an anime style that's not made in Japan.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Got it.
And
Got it. Got it.
Clair Obscur is so it's set in this world where like every year this mysterious woman shows up and paints a number on the skyline, and then everyone whose age is that number just dies. Um, and then the next year the number ticks down one.
Oh my God.
Yeah, no, it's really it's yeah. And every year also everyone whose number is the next number to be like to be to come up
Yeah.
goes off to try and solve whatever the hell this problem is and fix it.
Of course.
Those are the expeditions, and this is Expedition 33. So it's all the 30, I think it's all the 32-year-olds, in fact, because the
Okay.
next
Okay. Oh,
role is
that's actually really fascinating
so it's
storytelling.
so it's a bunch of people who are 32 years old going off to try and solve the problem that means otherwise they will definitely die when they turn 33. And it's just it's sort of considered a classic even though it's been out for like 12 minutes.
That interesting. I could totally see Kit being into that.
Yeah, no, it's definitely going to get weird.
That's wonderful. Okay. Here is quick question. Isabella, do you share the opinions on Dishonored?
I lean more to. There's two sets of opinions on Dishonored, so I lean more towards Si's position than Drew's.
Okay.
Which is that yeah, the Dishonored's not meant to be difficult. It's meant to be a space in which you can express yourself. It's something that I now actually can't remember if I put in the in annotations or not. Is that in Magic the Gathering terminology, the designers of Magic the Gathering divided players up into three kinds. They're called Timmy, Johnny, and Spike.
Okay.
And it's basically people who play to experience something, people who play to prove something, people who play to like express something. And Drew is very much a Spike. Drew plays games to demonstrate his mastery over the system. And that
Okay.
means if the system is too easy, there's nothing there for you.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Whereas Dishonored is a Johnny game. It is a game that is designed to give you tools that you can use to express yourself and to explore and
Okay.
to kind of see what is possible within this framework systems they're giving you. I don't know if it's still never been done since, because I dip in and out because I'm an easily distracted person, as you may have noticed. And I dip in and out of genres. There's like that style of very open-ended game has since been done comparably, maybe. I think Prey by the same people is very similar. Arguably, stuff like Baldur's Gate 3 has a similar vibe, but it's slightly different in RPGs. Like because so RPGs, role-playing games
Yeah.
of the more traditional Western style often place a very big emphasis on being able to approach problems by different methods,
Yep.
but it's less physicsy than it is in Dishonored. Dishonored is emergent properties of intersecting systems, whereas in something like Baldur's Gate 3, it's more the designers sat down and thought of 12 different ways you could approach this and implemented them all.
Okay. Okay. I mean, there's always different ways to look at things.
That always exactly.
Okay, quick question from Sorry. What's your best tip for healer types to replenish their own mana proactively?
Excellent. So disclaimer again, WoW Classic has looped me, so I am very much out of the thing. But like this is one of those like this could I can't tell if this is a gaming question or if it's like a metaphorical real life question. In some ways, I think it's kind of in a way it works for both. So stay out of danger. Realize that you can't help other people if you're not taking care of yourself. Uh, the DPS shouldn't stand in fire. That's less applicable to real life. Although I think in also not.
No, like
um,
there's a great metaphor there.
yeah.
Okay.
Don't overheal people.
Oh, I like that. Okay. And I actually that's
And
a metaphor too.
yeah, and trust the rest of your raid to know what they're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent points just in life in general. Here is one from Monica. In the annotations, you talk about having a reputation for abrupt endings. Can you tell us a little bit more about having to write endings and any of the particular challenges?
Oh gosh, and this is another it's all very complex and honestly it varies from book to book thing. Um, I particularly in a romance, I particularly in a romance, I tend to view it as I suppose the way I sometimes express it, I view it as an argument. You are making argument in the like if I say in the Socratic sense, that makes like a complete dickhead, but like not in the sense of a disagreement, but like you are making the case that these two people will be good together, or that these two people being together will be good for them,
Okay.
is kind of the point you're making. And so I don't like to do too much after I think I've made that point. So one of the tropes that often gets a bad rap in romance is the third act breakup. Um, and to me at least, I often think that that's almost what it's about. Like it's you ultimately need to be asking the question, can these two people actually be together in the face of adversity, in the face
Hmm.
of like whatever challenges they face, whether those be intrinsic or extrinsic? And once you've addressed that question, you can do more to sort of spin out specifically what their life together will look like, which is a style of storytelling that some people really like. Some people like to linger a bit and to have more of a sense of how these two people are going to be together going forwards.
Right.
But I think particularly, and it circles back to the author thing because I don't necessarily want to. I sort of see my job as convincing you they've got a shot,
Yeah. I like
not
that.
as describing exactly how things go. And obviously, it sometimes varies from book to book. I sometimes do the traditional epilogue.
Right.
I think particularly where like, the ones that come to mind immediately as books where I've actually done the traditional epilogue thing is I did one in Lady for a Duke because the point of that book was to be really close to the trappings of a really traditional histrom of the kind they
Yes.
kind of don't make anymore, and those
Right.
have epilogues. And it was important to me to make
Oh,
it really clear, like, no, it works. They have kids. Everything is fine. Um, because yeah. And the other one was there's an epilogue in 10 Things That Never
yep.
Happened. Uh, because that unfolded at such a compressed time scale, I kind of did feel okay. You probably do need to see that they make it at least a year,
Yeah.
and there is a sense of like kind of going forward and get it once you get out of the extremely wacky. I'm about to lose my job and faking amnesia, and it's all 3 weeks over Christmas thing. Um, but for a lot of the other books, I feel that you sort of get to a point where you've kind of said what you need to say. And I think often, I think the other thing is that like kind of like word, you do only have a finite amount of word count, and often it's a question of where you want to put the words. And
Yeah.
I'd rather
But
put them in the earlier bits where you are establishing the
hmm
relationship and its
hmm
challenges, rather than at the end where you're saying no, they're definitely going to be fine.
yeah. No, and I appreciate that, and I appreciate that you consider that when you're writing each novel. So, well done, you.
I think.
I am going to talk a little bit about upcoming work, and then we're going to go into some of the submitted questions during the event, and we're
Okay,
going to try to go a little fast because I don't want to
we've
take
got six
people's
minutes.
time.
I
Um,
mean, again, I'm not on a clock, but I appreciate you are.
no, and I'm not either on the clock, but if people
Oh no, yeah, no,
leave,
the people
it's
have
all
like
good, but it'll
budgeted
still
time
be
for this. I
here.
don't want to keep the audience hostage.
No, it'll still, you know what? This recording will go up once Caroline edits it. So if you have to leave, you're
Yeah.
welcome to leave and you can listen to it later. Um, but so upcoming, Audrey Lane Stirs the Pot,
Mm-hmm.
December 9th.
Yes.
Can't wait.
Fantastic.
Great cover,
No, it's cute, isn't it? I really like it.
super cute, and I'm just so excited that Audrey is going to see the light of day.
No, I'm so glad 'cause that was a whole big thing. I think is what I'm going to say about that process.
I think that is all we need to say.
I think that's it.
And then the other one that is coming up in March of 2026 is Hell's Heart.
Yes, indeed.
So I don't know if y'all remember, but uh, for Confounding Oaths. I had to reread Midsummer Night's Dream.
Hmm.
So before March of
You're gonna
2026,
reread
I'm
Moby Dick.
gonna have to read Moby Dick. And it might be the easy version, but I will still reread it.
There's actually some really good audio versions of it. In particular, there was a project that was done in 2013 of all things that I think you should be able to access free on Spotify called the Moby Dick Big Read,
Oh,
where it's Moby Dick, but every chapter is read by a different person. The first one was read by Tilda Swinton, I believe.
oh
Um,
my heavens.
yeah, so like it's in some ways it's a bit jarring because it means that you don't have a consistent voice all the way through for anyone.
No, but
But in some
still.
ways, it's really interesting.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. I'm marking that on Spotify now. Wow, thank you so much. That's fantastic. Okay, so I am going over to the pre-submitted Q&A and I am going to see what we've got. Okay, here's a question from someone. Actually, this matches with a pre-submitted question that I forgot to get to, so I apologize. Mary and Diane, can you talk about your journey from self-published to traditionally published author, and what advice do you have for authors on the path?
Okay, so crucially, I have never been a self-published author. I started out working with a boutique press. The
Yes.
reason that these Spires stories were briefly self-published is that there was once again a whole big thing
Yes.
where the rights reverted back to me. I want to say I'm not saying that in a defensive way or a dismissive way. I have a lot of respect for self-published authors, but I cannot give advice to people who want to self-publish. I am aware it takes a lot of hustle, it takes a lot of business acumen, it takes a lot of the kind of work I am bad at and don't know how to do. Part of the reason I was able to do it with Spires is because like the work of editing the books and all that had been done for me. The work of like building a brand like when I self-published those books, they'd already been commercially available, and I had an audience, and I was already working with other publishers, and I was still building an audience. So, um,
Yeah.
so that's also another way to think about it, I suppose, is that like the fact that I sold the rights to those books to Sourcebooks is in part because like if I'd been a self-published smash with those books, it wouldn't have been financially worth it for me. It's like I'd
Right.
rather have someone else dealing with that for me.
Yeah, I mean, I think your point about having to have really great business acumen if you're a
Mhm.
self-published author is incredibly important.
Yeah, and I
And how
would.
about just general advice for authors?
Oh gosh, general advice for authors. Oh, so the really like top level like broad view I always have advice for authors is to kind of know what you want out of it or understand what success looks like for you is the other way I would sometimes put it. Like what decide what you want being an author to mean for you, and that can mean anything from so circling back to the self-published thing is that like what is I really want to highlight is that there are some people who just self-publish and like and it's like, we talk about the journey from being a self-published author to being a traditionally published author. That like implies it's like fucking evolving like a Pokemon, whereas some people are Pikachu.
Right.
yeah, probably that's using the analogy badly, but I never watched Pokemon. But it's like it's a perfectly being a self-published author is a valid thing to be if that's what you want to be. It shouldn't
Right.
necessarily be seen as a stepping stone towards doing it the traditional way.
Agreed.
And for some people, writing is just a hobby you're going to enjoy, and for some people, it's a thing you do to pay the bills, and for some people, it's just about making as much money as possible, and for some people, it's about telling the stories you really want to tell, and if you can't sell them, then you make them. It's decide what success looks like for you and go for that.
Yeah, that's a great uh point of view. And I agree. Here's one from Julia. I love the way Alexis writes about friendships. Would love to hear
Oh.
more about what informs that for you.
I think just like I think I just try. I think I just value friendship as a concept. I am very conscious that I love romance. I love love stories, but I dislike the societal tendency to view romantic, or partially because obviously the LGBT community, arrow people are a thing, ace people are a thing, people who just kind of don't do traditional romantic relationships are a huge thing. And so I don't want to be writing stories that presuppose that the only relationship that matters is your monogamous romantic relationship. I want to be celebrating all forms of love, as it were, regardless, and friendship's a huge part of that. Like, most people have more friends than lovers.
Yeah. No, I mean, friendships are a huge boon to my life. Um, so here is another one. No, where is it? There it is. Eros says, in looking for group, I love Saul's stop to smell the roses approach to gaming and how it changes both the purpose and the fun of the experience. Off the top of your head, is there anything in a certain game or in everyday life where you take this approach to enjoy the experience more?
Oh gosh, in everyday life, nowhere near as much as I should. In games, like yeah, all the time. I will just stop and I will look at the scenery. I will, zoom in on little bits of like kind of the background. Particularly these days, games are so detailed, and there are like people who have put like time and effort, showing these things, and like very often you can just stop and go up a mountain or stand on the edge of a cliff and just take a moment to just really say to yourself, okay, that's a vista. That is like I mean, it's like it's almost it's almost redundant to cite like Elden Ring as an example of this, but there's so much stuff in Elden Ring where you just stop and you go, okay, that's amazing, and also I can go there and jump off it and get killed by a random monster.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
But so maybe you should take Saul's advice,
I do that in real life as well. Yeah, probably should.
just a few things.
Got deadlines.
So here, okay, we did that one. I said that. I need to say done. Sorry, I'm like multitasking. It is not a strong choice. Oh, Shelley loved your forward to Persuasion.
Oh,
Um,
thank you.
how did you come to write it, and how did you narrow down your thoughts about the novel to the two main points you wrote?
Oh gosh, I mean, I just sort of got invited to write like stuff like kind of just filters up to me through various directions, and I sort of lose track of what exactly has come via whom. Um, how did I filter my thoughts down? I don't really have a good answer to that apart from I just sort of did.
Okay.
Um, like um, like uh, it's sort of like yeah, but you sort of sit down, and sit, and you sort of say to yourself, "What do I want to say about this? Okay, how much of that can I actually say in the word count?"
Uh-huh.
There's not, I don't have a magic wand or a process really. There's a
Yeah.
yeah,
No, but I'm just
yeah. I'm sorry, that's a really
but
that's
that's
a
okay.
really
I'm still
uninformative
so
answer. I'm
thrilled.
sorry.
And
Yeah.
so it is a British version of Persuasion. It's lovely. Um, so those of you on in the UK, take a look at it because it's a really beautiful version. And you've got Alexis's forward in the front. Let me see. Um, Hannah wants to know, what is one of your favorite video game adaptations in movie, TV show, book, music, whatever format?
Oh gosh, and that's quite a tough one because I like okay, so video game video game adaptations have a reputation for being terrible. I fingers crossed, I found the Fallout series good so far. Like I was briefly worried because I'm sorry, spoilers, they nuke Shady Sands. But the fact that it ends on like the Carl McLaughlin character whose name I've forgotten, the protagonist. Sorry, spoilers for Fallout. Um, uh, like kind of heading off to, and you see the Vegas Strip in the background. There's a bit in New Vegas where you can canonically just nuke the NCR, and so I think what they've done is they've set it in a world where that specific bit of that specific DLC from
Okay.
New Vegas is canon. I hope that's what they've done. That I can't think of any other video game adaptation. Okay, okay. I will say it wasn't good, but the 90s Mario Brothers movie is kind of amazing.
I love that. I love that very much.
Yeah.
Um, oh, here from Skylar. What was the experience of revisiting LFG years later? Did anything surprise you?
Oh, how much? So it was a double whammy of how much had become really dated and how much had become weirdly relevant. So the fact that they're in Mumble, for example, I don't think anyone uses Mumble anymore. Everyone's on Discord. Discord is the thing that people use. It's just better. Also, you don't have to pay for servers. Um, Things that like there's a bit where they talk about Dark Souls, which at the time was quite an obscure game that only quite hardcore gamers played, and is now, I mean, really hardcore you about Demon Souls, but and is now just this huge phenomenon. There's a bit where there's a bit where I think where Bjorn makes a throwaway reference says to one of Edwin's lines from Baldur's Gate, where it's like a dare display of competence, undoubtedly fleeting, or something very similar. And people are like, "Oh, that game came out before you were born," and then Dave's like, "What game? What game? What game? What game?" And again, that's Baldur's Gate, which again suddenly huge because Baldur's Gate 3 came out. And so there's this weird mix of stuff that's just become completely irrelevant and stuff that's like had this massive renaissance. I think I flagged a few of them in the annotations, but I couldn't tell you exactly what was what now.
That was another thing that was so great was the annotations, which I mean, I love your annotations every time. And also the glossary.
Oh yes.
The glossary is so helpful, and that makes it so accessible for
Yeah,
like for me and for everybody else who might not be as as experienced with gaming and gaming language
circling
and
back to the
lingo.
self-publishing question, I think it's important to give credit where it's due. And the glossary, putting the glossary in at all was a suggestion from the original publisher, and putting the glossary at the front rather than the back was a suggestion from Sourcebooks.
It's
Both of which
really
were, I think, excellent suggestions.
no, it's excellent, and it's also hearing Will Watt read it with like it's
Oh,
so drolly
oh,
is
so what I found really odd actually was if you listen to the audiobook, Will Rott reads the introduction, which obviously is me,
right.
but it's Will Watt reading it, but it's written but it's
It's
I don't know,
you.
this is what actors do, but it's like it's me, but it's Will Watt. So basically it's just Will Watt reading my stuff way better than I could have.
I mean, Will is just spectacular.
Well, it's great.
I really appreciate all the work he does. Okay, I'm going to end on one more because
Oh, absolutely, yes. No,
a thunderstorm is starting to come through, and I'm pretty
oh,
sure I'm going to stay stable. But let's
oh
not
no,
jinx
do
anything.
like yeah, do look after yourself because like
So, and this is, I think, a nice one to end on from Isabella. Was this written purely as fiction, or did you have friendships you forged in games this way? I did, Isabella, and it made my heart so happy.
Oh, it's primarily fiction, but it is dedicated to connections you make online. I have all kinds of people who I have met online in all kinds of contexts, so not just through gaming, but through like kind of I play D&D online. Um,
Yeah. Well, I mean, where's the dedication to all the friends I've never met?
yeah.
And no, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to cry, people.
Oh,
But everybody in this audience, we at Blue Willow and me personally, consider a friend we've never met. And sometimes they come to the store and I lose my damn mind and it's so exciting.
oh, that's
And
so
I
cool.
get told to be quiet. But it's so much fun. So Alexis, thank you for creating such a beautiful community. Thank you.
Anytime. Thank you so much.
And thank you to your team
Anytime's
in the
weird.
background. Thank you to Caroline, who is paddling like a swan underwater, making this look
Oh
good.
yeah.
And thank you to everybody in the audience for your wonderful patience during some challenging times. We appreciate you. We look forward to seeing you again soon. And I hope you all have a great weekend. Y'all take care.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye bye.